Hello. All right, we're live. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm Vertigo Busto, and this is the Schumann Resonance Harmonics channel on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for being here. If you're new, welcome. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe to keep everything percolating up in your algorithm on your browser. Okay, so it's 3:33, or it was when I started this in the afternoon, Saturday, the 29th of May, 2021. I wanted to do a short and brief, I guess, introductory video to what I'm working on. My guides told me to kind of stop some stuff that I was working on and incorporate some other stuff into what I should be doing now. As it says on the screen, it's the, dealing with the physiological effects, the symptoms, quote unquote, the symptoms of the. I don't like using the phrase symptoms. It makes you think there's something wrong when there really isn't something wrong. Side effects, that's probably a good word. Uh, Physiological effects of what's happening. Symptoms seems to, like I said, indicate something's wrong when there may not be. If you go to the doctor, you get your checkup, and there's nothing physically broken or wrong with you that they can find, then it's not really an apt thing to use the word symptom, especially in the range of the Schumann resonances on the technical aspect, when there is not, technically speaking, there is not an ascension to go with an ascension symptoms. I have myself used the phrase rectification symptoms to indicate your distance away from a ground. And again, as a reminder, and if you're new here, this will probably serve as a good reminder of, what I'm doing here, that this is not a medical aspect. This is not a medical, what's the word I'm looking for? Even when I talk about physiological symptoms and physiological effects that are associated with the atmospheric electronics, I stay away from the word symptoms because there's not a problem that's associated with it. When I use the word rectification symptoms, I talk about in terms of an electrical circuit, the person, an individual, a person. I look at them as a component in the overall electric system of the Schumann resonance as atmospheric electronics, in addition to an overall larger geoelectric circuit, of which there's a larger circuit board, if you will. um, so, so it's important to know that I'm not doing this from a medical perspective, per se. I'm presenting medical data that's out there, but I'm not extrapolating a medical opinion on this. I'm looking at this, once again, as an electronic technician with the human as a type of electric component that's very interesting, very intricate, very unique, and has an added layer of complexity due to the will of picking and choosing and deciding and being sometimes the individual's worst enemy in health and wellness. Um, so this this particular video comes from. All right, first let me just say I meditate on these videos. At this point, I need to kind of, I ask my guides. My number one guide is Prime Source, itself, which I have a vision of in the forest of the eternal flame, that the avatar of Prime Source Creator that I can picture in this form, the most pure form that I can, come up with as a human, able to imagine the infinite. So my guides, the angels, all the dead people that are around me talking in my head, the committee that's in my head, I meditate on these videos before I start them, and I ask my guides to help give me the message that I need for my viewers. Specifically, I have, as I've mentioned this, the terrific 10 that I do this for. I know there's more than 10 people who probably benefit in some way, but these are the 10 who are there the most regularly, commenting and sharing on the videos and what they've gotten from me doing this. And some of these folks have been there from the beginning and just have been with this, and I need to be reminded that I'm not necessarily doing this for myself or for them, but the wonderful interactions I have with them, with the folks, the dialogue that gets developed from these, that's specific to people I've talked with, that hypothetical 10, that and let me just say this. I've said this before, but I'll say this again. That there, there's this kind of spiritual axiom that if you've helped one person, it's all been worth it. Okay, or it hasn't been a waste. And my response is, well, I've helped at least more than one person. Can I be done now? Right? Like, I got the one. And so, all right, so if there's one, then there's 10. All right, yeah, there's 10 people, right? That's what my guide said to me. Yeah, you got the one, great. What about 10? If there's 10, well, if they can grant me 10 people who've benefited, then will it be worth it? Yeah, all right, that'll be worth it. And then there's Wages World, who's the honorary 11th out of the 10. Elvin and 2 elves, 11 and 12. It's not a dozen, it's 12. How do you get 11, 10 and 1, and then 12, 10 and 2? The elves, Elvin and 2 elves. But I digress, completely digress. Or maybe not. We talk about the electromagnetics, elves, right? They're there. Sprites, elves, living entities that are in the upper atmosphere. So elves are not too far away from us when we talk about the Schumann Resonances, but that's generally, I digress, but the numbering system. So the 10 of you that are here, thank you all for being here. And the rest of you who also are benefiting in some way, thank you as well. I appreciate all of you who make a comment. And I may not reply to your comments. I may just put a little heart or just, thank you, whatever. But I read the comments and I send you love, right? Like I generally send you love, all right. So where were I? All right. So, physiological effects. Okay. So I have up there, this is I needed something for the, caramba, for the thumbnail. Okay. So this was the, what I have here is what I created for the thumbnail for the video. I got to have something. So this was, I'm looking at, and I'm kind of stalling here because I'm looking at the meter. It's pegging the meter. And so I just want to whisper. I don't want to talk loudly. I think more of my tenor and my voice comes out when I whisper than I have to, forcibly belt out as if I'm public speaking. Okay, so that's my design on my voice and the levels here. Um, uh, so I needed a thumbnail to work with. I needed the material, and so I kind of put this together at the last moment. But I want to kind of also say this as a before I go more into the material. I've said this before as well. This is sort of a disclaimer, I guess. My my review on this, my observations are not at the minute, right at the minute. They start out, I take a capture. I'm doing this every day, and so I work to endeavor to take daily captures of the Tomsk, and there's some other stuff that I do periodic, but this one here is the number one uh, learning material from Tomsk. I tell people that the Russian site is a university. It's a teaching, it's a technical college, and they provide this as an educational. How do I say this? They provide this as an educational uh, model for your benefit, and not as a like not as a gospel that's written in stone. I don't know a better way to put this. I've shared this before, but should just be used as a way to understand the Schumann resonances, and not as the what's happening in your neighborhood, in your neck of the woods. Okay, I think that should be importantly understood in this as a primary guiding principle. So that said, my reviews of this can take, as you see, this one started on the 26th, and it's now the 29th. And the joke is sort of that it starts out, the date is in the title. The date starts out being the actual date, and by the time I'm done, it's just part of the title. It's now moved down to the 29th, and so it gets in a lot of places hyphenated, because the observation is, I'm a specialist. Right? This is what I'm doing at this point. Um, I'm the Schumann resonance specialist. So I look at, it's like the computer specialist. You got to leave your machine for a few days to get it evaluated and looked at, and then you get the bill at the end of it. And sort of this is sort of what, the quote unquote the bill. I'm a technician. This is how I work. This is how I've kind of always worked. You bring it into the shop, and then we spend a few days on it and evaluate it. And so that's what my rendering of the Schumann resonances is: a deep dive, technical analysis on what I'm looking at the graphs. It's really that simple. Um, I know, relatively speaking, there are a number of people who are just in this to associate a ringing, the hammer of the bell, the spikes, the amplitude spikes, with a physiological malady. I know there's a lot of people that are looking to come into this, who are looking for an associated spike on the Schumann with a headache or a nausea or a ringing. I realize this is a 85% maybe of why people are coming into this, to get a handle on the phantom symptoms, what might otherwise be called the ascension symptoms, right? If we were going to address that as a thing, that's what it would be called. But in the technical realm, these are phantom symptoms, and we need to address, why are they truly, are they phantom in that these are in, trying to think of the right word. Hold on, let me think about this. This is a good pause point. I'm going to take a drink of coffee while I think of what this word is that I'm thinking of. Okay, so we're going to pause. Hmm. Okay. I think the word is hypochondriac. I think that another word also applies placebo effect. I'm not really sure. But the human brain has an amazing ability to kind of convince itself of anything. This is sort of where I'm going. Either way, it works either way. Okay. So this is part of one of the things that needs to be addressed in this. I sort of have lost kind of the narrative, that's the pathway, the narrative of where I was going because I was looking for the word. But what the part of the big discussion on this is that there is the human ability of the mind to heal itself. And regardless of whatever it's doing out there, you still need to take care of yourself in uh, in a certain way that will allow the energy to move through you. Okay. So this is getting back to, the electrical conductor or electrical component of how I present this to people. Uh, is that I don't look at you as a medical person. I look at you as a conductor or a capacitor or an inductor, right? Sucking in a charge. The capacitor is you holding in a charge. A resistor would be your ability to, you know, uh, isolate or resist the charge that's in the atmosphere. Right? So, uh, part of this is that part of the reason that I'm doing this, I'm addressing this, is that there's more to this. It's overwhelming. I don't often address the physiological effects. I don't make a lot of videos on it. I've done a series of 5 on the ringing of the ringing, the vertigo. Uh, And I've done some other associated videos of the Schumann resonance affecting the blood pressure. I've done a few of the health related, just specifically health related videos on related to the Schumann resonances. uh, and I think that's material. Some of those is material I'll be going into again in the bigger production of this video assuming if I ever get to it, when and if I get to it, when, not if. Okay, thank you. Um, and I just want to say, I'm kind of trying. I don't have a script I'm going by here. This is why I'm kind of rambling in some of this. I have a general kind of overall direction I'm working in, but I when I write a script, I kind of put a lot of energy into it, and I need that. But then sometimes I need to kind of exert that energy into the video itself, and not just the written part. Right? It's just it's work involved in both. I like writing, but then there's a lot of it's work. It's work. And for each half an hour of finished video, there's 2 hours of work that was involved behind it. And then once it's out there, then there's the follow up, and that's just getting a video out there, and then there's all the follow through that comes with that, and then there's my regular full time job, like I still have to do every day, moving rocks and dirt, and 50-pound, 60-pound bags of concrete and mortar. Um. All right. So, and that was actually, let me just say this. Me being exhausted from my job is not wanting to do a video is one of the main reasons why I said, oh, I need to do a video because I'm exhausted. I know where my exhaustion is coming from. I know why I'm tired. It's because I ride a bicycle all day long. It's my main transportation. I haul things. shovels, rakes, garbage cans while I'm on my bicycle. Okay, I just got through moving the equivalent of 2 ton of uh, um, there's a a paving mix of sand that you have to get. We get it in bulk, so I had to shovel it into the wheelbarrow and then haul it over to where we were working on the patio. Tons. I've literally, in the last weeks, month, moved tons and tons of stone and concrete and mulch. I know why I'm exhausted. It's not the Schumann. It's not environmental that atmospherics. No, no, no. No. When I'm not working, I shut off everything. I unplug it, shut it off, except the laptop. I put that in sleep. But I, you know, turn everything off. I don't have, sound and noise in the background. It's, when I'm sleeping, I want there to be nothing. I want to recover. I need to recuperate, you know. Oh, and this, my work schedule is largely why I haven't been, making many videos or doing anything, just sleeping. I'm exhausted. Um, uh, so, all right, so I have to go into this video. My guide said, just said it, suggested this to me, that you need to kind of put this on the front burner. I have a lot of material that I've gathered over the time of doing this of health related stuff on the Schumann. So I wanted to do one video this is going to be a long one. This is going to be a long fucking video. Um, that puts together a lot of the different health related stuff I have. It's going to be a series. And what I've taken to doing is, as a non sequitur to this, just as my procedure when I'm doing the content here, for those who are interested in how I make the videos. When I do these videos now, I like having one finished lesson, just a solid lesson that which is sort of what this is supposed to be. This is a loose lesson. Um, I'm not going into the details and the research here, but this is a learning. It's still a learning lesson. And I will use these and then I'll put them on uh, a live stream and play them on a live stream and have those follow through. A lot of times, there's been a good number of times where the live stream has dropped, and I've gotten it back, but I've gotten to notice that the strength, because the Wi-Fi, I'm using Wi-Fi, my neighbor's Wi-Fi, basically, with their permission. But as the guest, they have a second channel that's dedicated to the guests. So me and my coworker share the same Wi-Fi, and it's the basement, and whatever it is, what it is. So the signal has dropped out, and so the live stream has stopped. And sometimes I've gotten it back, and other times I haven't. So I I like having a kind of backup of the material itself. So even if have the live stream has stopped, you still have the material. So that's sort of what I'm doing, is kind of a 2 or 3 prong approach, and have some stuff on my website that it also kind of adds some more to it, that has the base same stuff, and then add some more to it, and so that it's kind of all the different outlets I have just a little kind of different facet to them, to make them all just a little different, because it's ongoing, and I get feedback from one person over there and have information over there. I'm not hiding anything, but oh good God, people from over there ask me specific questions, and you are free to go over to Patreon and read some of the interesting stuff I've talked with over there. If you're a subscriber, you'll see that interesting information over there. Anyway, back to the just a little plug for myself. All right, so in general, this is a discussion on the atmospheric electronics, and I'm not going to read too much about what I wrote here, because this is all in the description. But essentially, what I'm saying here, where am I here? I'm not going to go into too much of this here. It's in the description. But But essentially, what I'm talking about is that as a primary kind of guiding principle here, that not all first, okay, what's basic to me may not be basic to other people. May just be like, wow, okay, I didn't know this. All right, okay. So, and these are things I've talked about before. But let me let's get back to the basics here. All right. So, the all atmospheric electromagnetics are not Schumann resonances. Okay. Now, my primary drive here, my primary goal is to discuss and observe the Schumann resonance harmonics, Schumann series of atmospheric resonances. That's the way I put it. Okay. So it's important. Why is it important? There's 10 people who want to know this, 11 including Wages World, who want to know this, that there is a certain core to this of the Schumann resonances here, this right here. Okay, so our first lesson here is what are the Schumann resonances? That's this, okay. And its native state, what I would call the native state. Okay. Um and with this, there's a certain set normal that comes with the Schumann resonances as an atmospheric electromagnetics. Okay. So, in its normal state, there is the Schumann resonance harmonics that acts in a certain way on people that is one part of this discussion. Okay. So there is the native innate effect of just the Schumann resonances as they are right here. These are true. Again, this is the true Schumann resonances here in the the little red box there. Okay, so this is our model, our standard model, right? Our reference for Schumann resonances. Okay, so this is, like I said, this was the first lesson that all up the 25th to the 26th, maybe I'll show this later on, that the 25th to the 26th, we had a 24 is, I think, I would say there's probably a 48-hour period where we had the Schumann resonances that were at I don't like using the word flat line. It gives the wrong idea, but it's basically, a smooth, right? It kind of, it has a little, you know, wiggle to it, but it's essentially it's smooth, it's flat. Right. So 48 hours of calm. That's the best. Electric side amplitude calm. That might be the best way to put it. All right. So but also not much magnetics as well. However, there was clear magnetic activity, like you see this here, quality magnetic activity. Some of the white, yep, a little dribble in the yellow mode 2, but equal to about what it's doing in the which is, you sort of expect that. Okay, that the electric and the magnetic are together. Normally speaking, on calm days, the electric and the magnetic side work together. That's what I refer to as requited. You don't see much of the rest of it, however, that matches up, but that's fine. Here there's you see a little bit of a wiggle. There's a little bit of spikes there, but this is sort of expected. This is true Schumann because the magnetics travel around the world. You had a big ass spike just not that long before this. That was the crazy 103 spike that would it would send stuff out to keep going, and that's what you see here, the lowest of the low of the green. So this is truly Schumann resonance. The green mode is true Schumann resonances because these are the lowest of the low waves. Okay, so a lot of this, you see it's green in color, is true Schumann resonance activity. Okay, wonderful. So we have a wonderful learning lesson to go with the Schumann resonances of what they are in their native environment. Okay. So this gives us a chance to provide a baseline of what our symptoms are. Okay, that's one of the things here. That's one of the lessons. Okay, matching up. If you're referring to them as symptoms, rectification symptoms. And I use the phrase rectification, meaning your distance from the ground, your crazy head, wherever else it is, other than where your feet are. If your head is not over your feet, then you're likely getting crazy, ungrounding, ringing, and the nausea and the vertigo, because you're storing the energy and you're not channeling it through you. So, um, so I think I was talking about the Schumann resonance in its native state as a reference. All right. So we have technicians need their reference point, their reference standard. What is my normal, quote unquote, normal? All right. So that's what, the 25th into the 26th is your Schumann normal, your Schumann normal state. Okay. And again, the diurnal variation at Tomsk is that at roughly 5, maybe 4, but roughly 5 a.m. to 2300 local time, there's a true Schumann resonance activity. At that point, at 23 local time to 5 the next day, roughly 5, the resonances go to sleep. It's the nighttime over there. So you see a dip normally. You see one of these little dips here from, the D layer, all of them going to sleep, and everything goes slack, everything goes to sleep. The atmosphere goes to bed. Right? Just how you look at it. And then this is the morning, kind of wake up. The rooster crows here. The baker, the butcher, the baker all get ready to go to work. And then you have the kind of coffee break, the middle of the day coffee break, just kind of slump as it gets ready. And then, 8, 9 o'clock, the sun starts coming in, and then just, we're going full blast. So that's sort of what this is. That's why you have these perpetual, if you watch this long enough, this is what you see. That this diurnal variation of the sun, kind of first getting in, hitting the ionosphere in a certain way, getting a couple of the initial layers activated in the ionosphere. But then as the sun kind of starts moving overhead and then directly into its full-time, daytime job, you start seeing the, it kind of dips and then it goes back up. All right. So this is sort of what also people experience, that effect is roughly what people experience where they are. Right. So regardless of whatever the numbers are, this type of a pattern is similar to what people experience in their lives as well. That one of the things that we have to remember is with the Schumann resonances, the ionosphere, the condition and strength and layers of the ionosphere, there's multiple layers of the ionosphere, will create an effect on what you see on the spectrogram. So as the atmospheric layers tighten up during the course of the day, you're able to get these spikes. And a primary cause, again, for the Schumann resonances is lightning discharge, atmospheric discharge between the ionosphere and the earth ground, okay? The atmospheric exchange between the ionosphere and and there's multiple ways that can happen. It's not just lightning. It's the spherics, the sprites, the elves, way up there, and the upper to upper atmosphere, that happening. Auroral discharges help with that as well. Little different kind of thing. It's more of the Birkelands, but it still works in there as well. And then lightning that goes from the ground up. Okay. And then there's other means in there of the Birkeland currents, and then there's other stuff as well that figure in there of the discharge, just the exchange between the charge of the upper atmosphere and the current of the Earth ground itself. So there's multiple, and as the sun hits us, it's one of the things you got to remember. The sun hits us, the atmospheres drop down. Okay, it's a forcing. It's what they call forcing. So this is one of the things that we look at as well. That when the sun hits us, it kind of strengthens the ionosphere and acts as a stronger filter for the heavier stuff. Okay, but it lowers it down to us. And the trade-off to that is that it makes it closer and easier connection as possible between the lower and the upper DC circuits. Okay, so a lot of people think that when it's, we're getting heavy solar bombardment, that it's directly coming down into us. And a part of it is, yes. However, the way the system also works as well is that a lot of it's held up in the ionosphere that gets dissipated and held as a capacitor to be discharged later. Okay, so the first primary, this right here, our first primary, actually not this one here, but this one here, our first primary, you got to remember, our first primary guiding principle in understanding the Schumann resonances is that the ionosphere is a membrane. It acts as a protecting layer, but also as a capacitor. Okay, and during the day, you're more likely to get spikes because the atmosphere, the ionosphere, is at the strongest. And yet, during the day, you're also getting more radiance from the sun, and there is also a variety of UV rays that come in that are, not quite filtered by the ionosphere, that come in and also affect you as well. Days of high solar flares, high solar winds, these can come in, excite the atmosphere, and then drop down all sorts of things are happening, especially in the solar. We have officially started solar cycle 25 in November, so we are every day experiencing increased. It takes, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days, not 4, like 5, 6 days, maybe 8 days for material. Yeah, 5 days is on the lower side, but 6 days or so, relatively speaking, whatever it is, for material from a coronal mass ejection from when it leaves the sun to when it finally gets here. Okay, so there's a lag time between when it goes off to when we get hit. Okay, so in the time that this here Schumann was low or calm, there was another burst that had come off the sun that was due to get here on the 28th, and it got here, and you see that's actually this right here, some of this. All right, so and I just want to point this out really quick. This is kind of a midnight burst, and this would be from the CME, right? This is when the Schumann resonances were when the ionosphere was supposed to kind of been asleep. That's when this hit. All right. So this was not daytime solar regular diurnal, lightning. This was actually kind of a legitimate, solar. It's one of the things that I point out, that, a lot of this, the diurnal, if the spikes are happening in the middle of the day, that's primarily lightning. Okay? This is one of the things that's kind of important people to realize, that when the spikes you have in the middle of the day, okay, here you have it's 11, 12, This right here, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is the middle of the day right here. This one right here, I did a post on it, I think somewhere, I don't know, I wrote something about it. I don't know where I posted it, to tell you the truth. That's why I'm mentioning it here, because I'm doing a video. This is a middle of the night burst that came when the ionosphere was slack and at its loosest. So that's what makes this significant. That hit a 50 by my reckoning on that. All right. So anyway, back to the lesson. The not all atmospheric electromagnetics are Schumann resonances. There's a number of other causes to atmospheric electromagnetics that may or may not affect you and are more likely to affect you. Yes. Okay. The Schumann resonances are the lowest intensity of the electromagnetics. They're in the pico range. The rest of the electromagnetics would be in the nano Tesla range, right? And let's see, these are things that I've gone over before. I've mentioned this before. However, needs to be remembered here in this discussion of what belongs to the Schumann resonances, properly the Schumann resonances, and what belongs to other associated atmospheric electromagnetics, which I'm willing to address because I'm kind of a buck stops here kind of guy. I stop and pick up garbage on the side of the road. I fix things. I get them working again. I research stuff. Part of my job is to be able to discern, one thing, from another. And so this is all part of what, that this venture of the Schumann resonance harmonics is about, of discussing with people what is the Schumann resonances. That's why it's got a kind of a complicated name to it, because it's not just Schumann resonance. It's, harmonics. When you see that, like if you don't know what harmonics are, you get a little bit, what is that? And I wanted to put, in the title, and associated atmospheric electromagnetics, but that's way too long of a title, But so I figured I'll just talk about it and discuss it in the videos, and we can work on it from that. So there are, so it's important for me to address, as part of doing this, the physiological effects of not only the Schumann resonances, but also the related atmospherics. All right, so there is legitimate research, and I'll just show you this. Hold on. Hold please, system processing. Please wait. All right, so here, this is what my notes are. All right, so there is legitimate research that NASA had done on the absence of Schumann resonances in the space shuttle when they went up there. And so now all of the space shuttles that go up into the outer space have a Schumann resonance, primary harmonic generator, 7.8 hertz. All right. So there's the research from NASA on the Schumann resonance and the health of their astronauts. There is also and as a result of that, there is other educational institution, I forget which one, there's a university did a study on students and placed them in the ground, and did a study on the effects of the deprivation of the Schumann resonances and what effect that has. Okay, so I've read through some of that. I haven't actually read the actual research itself, but I've read someone who, they kind of paraphrased and copy and paste some of it. So I've been able to see some of the research, but I have to get my hands on those two. There's at least those two specific researchers, and that's been surprisingly difficult to come across. All right, so there is actually legitimate studies on the physiological effect of the Schumann resonances, what they do, and deprivation of them. Okay. So that in itself is like one, like the first primary discussion of that. Okay. So there's the actual research. Following that, or maybe not logically following that, but from my perspective, associated with that comes the perception in a lot of people of the more common symptoms of the ringing in the ears, the vertigo, nausea, and headaches. And I'm going to narrow down the headaches to sinus headaches in the front. Okay. Now, people say headaches. I don't know what that means. Where does it hurt? Right? Without an MRI to see what's actually, I don't know. You can't just assume all headaches are the same. That's absurd. Having had a headache, having had migraines, having been a migraine sufferer, I will tell you, not all headaches are the same. Not my own, and certainly not other people. All right. So headache is I don't know, whatever that is. So, that's why I include the nausea and I narrow it down to sinus headaches. Okay. Frontal lobe, sinus, or maybe the temples. I'm willing to go with that, but you got to narrow down your headache. Sorry. Right. I mean, this isn't a doctor, but as an associated yet unrelated phenomena, I have addressed in five, not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 videos specifically this issue of the ringing and the vertigo related to technically magnetic induction, okay? Related to not necessarily the Schumann resonances, but other types of geoelectric atmospherics of the nano Tesla range. Not the pico, but the nano Tesla range is what is giving you the ringing and the vertigo. Okay? So that's a related, yet an unrelated topic of the effects of the Schumann resonance, atmospheric resonance, the physiological effects, the legitimate study, what other people, what I call legitimate is other people have done them, and it's, peer review and, whatever. Like I've given plenty of examples of that. And then there is also the what is legitimately a phantom symptom, or what I refer to as the, those are the true rectification symptoms. And a rectifier is, in a technical term, a rectifier is a device that converts one type of current to another. So it converts a DC to an AC charge. DC is direct current, AC is alternating current. So direct current goes in a straight line, alternating current goes in a wave. Or as your home electronics, it goes, bing, 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 back and forth, back and forth. The phases keep shifting back and forth, so it's a wave. So both of those circuits are in the global electric circuit, by the way. There's both the DC and the AC, and both are working well. Lightning is a DC charge that goes from the upper to the lower DC circuit, very strong, but then as a result of it, the echoes from that are in the pico range. The Schumann resonances are the AC circuit, which is very subtle relative to the DC circuit, which is, again, there's two. There's the upper and the lower DC circuit. So the induction, magnetic induction of the amplitude is likely, and there's two principles involved in the ringing and the vertigo. Is actually magnetic induction and the piezoelectric effect due to the crystals. And again, I have 5 videos on my channel. I've talked about this, and I'm I'm willing to talk more about it, but and they have music. So you get through the music, I don't know, the first 5 minutes and some of it is music, whatever. I don't put music in the videos anymore, so you can be thankful for that if you don't like the music. All right. All right, so related and unrelated. All right, so the next item is the full moon lunacy. Okay, so I put this in parentheses because I don't necessarily need to address it as an issue. Other people have. I'm putting this in there as a type of kind of a character witness that, if you will, that space weather, including the full moon, has a way of affecting people, affecting the tides. I don't know how it does it. I've read the theory. I don't believe it, whatever. Uh, but the full moon has an effect on people. All right. So the next one up is solar warnings, solar storm watch warnings, and related effects. Okay. So this is, oh my, I'm at 51 minutes in this video already. All right. So this is, I've done recently, I did I know I made I put this in a link, and I've been working with uh, Suspicious Observers. Dr. Ben has made a video about the effects of solar weather on the person's physiology. So there are effects, physiological effects known from the solar weather. They're studied from solar weather warnings. Okay. So when we get outbursts of solar, like CME burst, high, KP days, there are expected physiological effects of a person from elevated solar weather. This is not necessarily Schumann resonance related, however, is atmospheric electromagnetics. It's there, by default. I'm the guy that works through this. So these are, part of this, I'm kind of shifting my gears of just the Schumann resonances to helping people kind of work through the associated electromagnetics that come with it's, oh God, freaking long ass orangutan limbs. It's time. There's a lot of, there's the solar, flares and everything are kicking up. Clearly, it's important that people know how to deal with this stuff, right? From the component, from the perspective of you as a electrical component in the overall circuit. This is me as a technician to you, the gift that I can give to you. I'm not a medical doctor, but but they also are not electrical technicians. Some of them are smart. They don't think that the body can conduct electricity and atmospherics the way it does, and blase. All right. So, the next item is this one I had come across in my research on seismic. I have a subscription to academia, to a few of the clearinghouses for these the research papers, like Dr. Ben does. He has scientific credentials, so he has access to all kinds of great stuff. I don't have that, but I do have. I'm on a mailing list, and so I get all kinds of great, interesting research about seismic related stuff. And one of the interesting researches, I'll have to hunt this down. God, it's going to take a long time to do this. But it'll be happy work. One of the researchers that I came across was the increase of mental health admissions during times of seismic activity and heightened. You get the burst. You see the burst at Kumiania. The red kind of spikes on their thing up to 1,500 hertz, or you get one that's 15,000 hertz from seismic activity, and that has an effect of increased admissions to the mental health wards for people who are not feeling quite stable as a result of that. And there's research that correlate increased mental health visits with those seismic bursts. My thought is, well, it's an earthquake. No wonder you're feeling depressed. No one feels happy during an earthquake. But they measure these things and report on it. Like, okay, you didn't need to spend that much time and research to find depressed people around earthquake areas. The research that I read, the one specific one that I had read, was university somewhere, some university in Greece. I forget which one it was, but it was in the it's in Greece, which they're always getting hit with earthquakes and seismic bursts. Them, Italy, all the Mediterranean islands are perpetually getting bombarded by seismic activity and the amplitude bursts. Um, so that's one of the research that I have came across, and I got to find it again. But there is a connection between according to the research I read, there's a connection between increased seismic activity and the amplitudes come with it. They measure that uh, with admission to the mental health. Makes sense to me. All right. And it's a common and up here in the browser, the research I have, that's one of the things that we talk about is the decreased melatonin production from certain frequencies of electromagnetics. Uh, you have certain brainwave state necessary for sleep that come with that are associated with the production of melatonin. Okay. And that's one of the things that promote a healthy sense of well-being is melatonin, which is related to, it comes from, I guess, produced by the pineal, okay, the pituitary. Um, so uh, so this is and there's multiple studies. I have one somewhere. I think I have a few. But that's one of the things is it affects the electromagnetics. I was reading it somewhere in my that I have in the browser actually. Hold on. Oh please. So somewhere here in the research, I have a bunch of different researches that I will be going into. Uh, there you go. So the next uh lessons are going to be on this material here, and that's kind of what I'm working through, doing some short videos on these things. They're long articles. I can't even go into all of them, but I wanted to do some short introductory articles of that, and then put it together in a live stream and string it together. I don't know, whatever. Guys got options. That's all I'm saying. All right. So somewhere in the articles I just showed you, they talk about the relationship between melatonin and pineal and all this kind of stuff, and you're having well-being, a good sense of your well-being rather than being I don't know, an egoistic prick because your lack of melatonin is giving you a sense of well-being in the world. And then there's the effects of unshielded, what I love bringing up. Last but not least on my list is your most local unshielded electronics that you have closest to you. If you want to know the source, on the days of heavy radiance, it not only affects Tomsk and Russia, but it affects all of them. Okay, so they're measuring spikes, whether it's just them locally or here where you are and your own spikes, before the sun gets to you. You need to remember you're always surrounded by unshielded electronics. Okay. You yourself may be unshielded. Okay. You don't have a Faraday cage around you. Okay. Whatever. But on good days, when everything is calm, things are going well. you don't notice a lot of this stuff because you have a high tolerance for electronics surround you. You've built up a natural resistance to them. However, those days that they become imbued with magnetic charm, and you don't think about your unshielded electronics, but they're there, they're watching you, they're observing you, all of them. We've surrounded ourselves with many. Maybe you got one in your refrigerator, meter, sensor, wires, unshielded wires that are like a network. Oh, they are. They're not like a network. They are a network in your house, in your walls. You don't even think about them. They are around you all of the time, radiating and pulling in. Right? How shielded is your house? They're there. Those wires are pulling in additional stuff from the sun that occupies space in your your immediate environment in your house. And if you want to talk about your wellness and your health from the perspective of atmospheric electronics, you need to look at your own environment first, because I showed you on one of the live streams not that long ago. I measured it, right? The laptop I was doing the live stream from, my laptop was measuring 49 nano Teslas. Okay? That's 49, that's at least 1,000 we have here, nanoteslas. All right, so this one here, this is 36 picoteslas. All right, so this is still 1,000 times plus, like 1,500 times stronger than, or maybe not, maybe like 1/10, I think, times stronger. This one here, the Tesla here, this is 12, the peak here, 12, right? My laptop is 49, this is 12. That's easily 12, 24, that's 48, that's 4 times stronger, 4,000 times. My laptop is 4,000 times stronger than this peak right here, all right? This one here, none of these. Even this is 50, this is 13, this is 14, that's 36. So even here, this one here, the strongest one here, 36, is not even close to the 49 that I got from my laptop. That's 49 nanoteslas, and this is 36 picoteslas. A pico is 1,000 times weaker than a nano by their measuring system. You got to remember that. So what are the closest of your electronics, your unshielded electronics? Might even be your phone, your brand new iPhone, and none of these phones are shielded. None of these phones, you don't put a Faraday cage around your phone because you actually want it to receive signals. That's kind of the other thing of it, that we can't put a cage around your electronics because otherwise they wouldn't receive a signal anymore. If you shield them, they don't really work that well. That's why they're all unshielded, so that wherever the antenna is in the unit, wherever it is, it's able to pick up a signal. You don't know where the antenna in your device is. And you don't know that if you put a shield around it, a Faraday cage around it, how well your device will be working from that point. Everything is network enabled. Everything is attached to the network. Everything gets its signal from the network. It's okay. You're okay to operate signal. It gets updated from the time, the date, the GPS, everything, all of that. All of your electronics, your refrigerator, your garbage disposal, your garbage can that has a battery attached to it. If it has a battery, a sensor, it's sending out some kind of signal. You've surrounded yourself by it. I don't know if you care about that, but it's stronger than the Schumann Resonances. A lot of people don't even want to think about it. They don't, not even anywhere remotely on their agenda to think about all of the electronics the house is surrounded by and how much more powerful those signals are than the Schumann resonances. People would much rather not look at those, not deal with that, and blame the Schumann resonances. The Schumann. They blame the Schumann. Instead of taking responsibility for the unshielded, unprotected life that they have, one good CME, that one good flash, Carrington level flash that's coming, it's due. That one good flash is going to put all of it, just going to stop it all from working because it's unshielded. Right? So, you can't complain that the Schumann resonances, which have been around from the beginning, time immemorial, that they've already, that they are suddenly doing something to you when you've surrounded yourself by the internet of all things. What's more likely? The Schumann resonances that have been around from the beginning now suddenly going haywire and making your ears ring, or humans having surrounded ourselves by unprotected electronics, unprotected, unshielded electronics, because of the convenience of having things connected all the time. So you can watch Facebook from your car. Car can drive itself and you can watch Facebook. Because that's where that's going, where we are. That's kind of the state that we're in. And so those unshielded electronics that are picking up Facebook when you're in your car, right? The car is driving itself. It's unshielded. It's picking up its electronics, signal, GPS, all of that. And the car is a great environment. The signal bounces around in the metal, ding, 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 ding. I wonder how many people complain of the ringing in the ears while they're in their car driving. I don't know. No one tells me. No one says anything about that, but I'm wondering, right? I'm just wondering if it gets worse as you get out of your car or it gets better. I don't think anyone even cares. Anyone even notices that would even be, why would you even ask that? I get into a metal box, right? That metal attracts electromagnetics. Your car's not shielded either, right? Your car is inducting a signal, you're pulling in a signal from, where is that? The OnStar or any one of these other, services. Your car is inducting a signal. So it's part of it as well, I don't know. People, when they say I'm ringing, the vertigo, is it happening when you're driving more often than anything else? I don't know. Do you write that in the notebook, the time, and log it in? I don't know. I'm just asking. This is what we're talking about with the symptoms, right? And so I can't be too much of a schmuck. I can't be too cynical about that, of people not keeping track of their symptoms, because we are talking about that. And I'm working diligently not to be judgmental. I feel like people are being put on the spot, because I'm not mentioning anyone's name. Uh, but these are all points to consider as we're going forward. And if you want to associate your health with the atmospheric electromagnetics, I didn't put it first because I wanted to do this in kind of logical order relative to the Schumann, the closest to the Schumann, and stick with that and, go. But I guess my pet peeve maybe, is people willingly ignoring and willingly not addressing, or just outright, just not even caring about the local electromagnetics around them of the unshielded electronics, in place of just blaming the Schumann. So I can't take that, their thing, their stuff, their baggage personally. It's just how they perceive this. So, taking a proactive approach to this, I am presenting this from a many-tiered, multi-dimensional perspective here, the many different layers of your physical maladies that people are experiencing at this time. Right? And so this is just a general kind of overview of, again, the wide varieties of symptoms, maladies that people are having related to atmospheric electronics that may or may not be the Schumann resonances, you know? And again, when you see the amplitude spikes on the Schumann resonances, that's still not the Schumann resonances. Those are amplitude spikes that are caused by lightning or caused by the ionosphere kind of crouching in on us or whatever. And so there are added complexities to the picture. Those spikes are more relevant to your physiological well-being because you perceive them that way. I think that's just the simplest, most basic way to put that. Whether or not you could endure those well doesn't matter next to the fact that you perceive them in a certain way. So part of what, when I do this, my mindset, when I'm talking to people in the comments, I talk to people in the comments, and I talk to people in, when I do these videos and live stream and everything, I never deny that there's not a physiological effect coming from, from the atmosphere. Okay. I can't quantize it to a person in any single way because I'm not a medical doctor. You got to address your physical conditions first to make sure you got a clean bill of health from the doctor, right? So I'm not I'm not replacing the doctor in any way, shape, or form. It's not what I'm doing. So when I look at this, I look at the conduction of electricity through a body. Okay. What does it take to get an electric charge through a circuit, right? You, a person, is a complete electric circuit of a sort. So the goal is how to help people in this time to allow the electronics around us to move, the signal, electromagnetic signal around us, to move through us and channel through us, okay? Rather than holding on to it, and especially if it's a higher frequency thing that we're inducing into our head and perceiving as a sound, you got to figure out a whole nother way to deal with that. And all these other weird, wacky symptoms that are, expect more of it, because of the higher frequencies coming in, X-rays and true gammas or whatever, it's time for this stuff to come in and for it to be known how to, to be known how to deal with this, to be known how you can counteract those energies, because only the people that are prepared for it and ready and willing to do some work are going to be able to make it through this time. And there's not much time left for you to kind of start understanding some basic principles to this, and you to develop some grounding, first and foremost, grounding principles into your life, but it's up to you. You have to want to do it. You have to have the will to want to do this. It's just that simple first and foremost. If you don't have the will to want to do this, then it's going to be a difficult row to hoe, as they say. All right, so I'm almost a minute 15 into this. This is definitely a good place to stop. It's a little longer than I wanted it to be. Brief was not so brief. But this is a big topic. This is really a big topic, and there's a lot to this that needs to be spoken of. But I'm gonna probably have this as a premiere tonight. Good kind of time for premiere, and maybe I'll do a live stream after it, and I'll start doing some of the video, showing some of the information that I have on the my browser. I don't know. But I'm definitely going to post this as a premiere. All right. So with that said, thank you all for being here. I appreciate everyone for your love, your comments, and your support. It's I like I said, I read all the comments, and even if I don't respond to the comments, I don't need to respond to all the comments. But when someone asks a question, I do address the questions. I answer the questions. So if you have questions, please answer. Ask. I will do my best to answer. You ask, I will answer to the best of my ability. Sometimes I just say I'll have to look into it. All right. So thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for coming today. I appreciate everyone for being here. Your love, your comment, your support. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Make sure you are still subscribed. That'd be nice. And I appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you all. I just I do these because some days I just need to hear people kind of motivate me and cheer me on. Sometimes that's all that kind of that matters. All right. So anyway, all right. So on that cheery note, thank you all for being here. I appreciate this, and I will talk with you all soon.